different angle, maybe for 5 minutes, if you allow me to do this. Here's my 2 cents worth. I used to wonder why there's certain people that I had in my mind that there were sellers and they would never get their house priced right to sell, no matter what I did. I worked with a lot of buyers and I would show them homes and they never seemed to find the right house. Can anybody relate to that type of thing? So in the scheme of things, if someone doesn't have the proper level of motivation, nothing works on them, right? So if you want to take the shadow seller and boil it down to the very essence, to the whatever's left at the bottom of the pot when you boil all the water out, I don't think it's a shadow seller if that's their true objection, meaning they would love to sell, yet they're not going to sell because they have a place, they don't know where they're going to go. I believe 100%, 99.9% of those issues could be solved. And so I want someone to be a seller, and I want you to, and we can have more than one seller. I'm going to walk you through, which I think is it is the checkmate move. It's so simple. So when someone says that they would like to sell, but they're fearful where they want to go. So somebody be that seller, and I want you to be tough on me.
Hey, Denny.
Tough?
Denny, I have some land, and I'd like to keep it, but I'm thinking about selling it, so I might be a good candidate. I don't think I'll be very difficult, though.
Well, the issue is on that land that you wouldn't be a shadow seller because, we can come to that. And it doesn't really matter. However, the shadow seller, they are living in the house they want to sell.
Okay.
So Moses, can you be that seller?
Sure.
So it's very simple. You know the formula, you acknowledge, and you isolate. Moses, is that the only reason that's keeping you from taking advantage of this white hot market?
Yes, the biggest thing is I don't know what's going to happen. And last resort, I have a, hideout, or a secret house up in the mountains, that I can go to anytime and not have to worry about anything for a while.
Okay, now hang on to that just for a minute. I want to be a pure shadow seller, meaning your concern is not having a place to buy. Your mountain house gives you an out. I want you to have no out.
Okay, so my property value shifted last year before the pandemic up to 450, and so my profit would be 449,000. And so how would I compete with the market that climbed even higher than that? How would I go and find something?
Well, all right. So now, again, I'm not going to go into a lengthy role play here. I'm just going to get to the essence of it because I just want to review the steps. So I understand what is your motivation to sell this house and move somewhere else, Moses?
I'd like to move more local. I'd like to have a house more local, but the thing is, I'm afraid that I won't have anywhere to go if I let go. Because it's important to get a place.
All right, so I'm not drilling deep into motivation, which you can get into the emotional aspect of it. I'm not going to use the time for that right now. However, I'm going to isolate. So is there any other reason than that you wouldn't want to sell and take advantage of the market we're in right now?
No, that's pretty much the scariest part.
Okay. Now, here's the power of isolation, you guys. Unless you can kind of back them into a corner, and I don't mean that negatively. However, if you take away their exit points, I think everything can be solved at that point. However, if you come up with a solution and that's not really the question or the problem, they're going to moonwalk on you in a different direction. So if you had the cash right now, maybe you won the lottery. Well, let me ask you, if you had the cash for your house right now and the house was available that you wanted to move into and you can make a lickety-split simultaneous move guaranteed from one house to the other and not be homeless, would it make sense for you to move forward?
Most definitely.
Okay, and I'm assuming here, but for you guys on the role play, I'm assuming, Moses, you don't have you need the equity out of your home in order to buy the next home, right?
Definitely also.
Okay. Have you seen homes out there that you like, that you just wish you could act and you know you can't because your home isn't sold yet?
Well, there's some stuff on the other side of the bridge, but it's so expensive,
Now, you cannot build a building on straw. I asked him a direct question and he gave me a sideways answer. Did you hear that, Jeff? I don't have a lot of confidence in see, in order for this to work, they have to be convinced that they can go somewhere and find a house. So that's why I asked, have you seen some stuff out there that you like? Now I understand it on the other side of the bridge, it's more money. However, is that doable for you?
Probably not. I'd have to be more realistic and stay on this side. If you can find me something that I can get into, I think that'd be ideal.
Okay, and do you see that? Do you see the homes like that come on the market?
I have not recently because I've been seeing listings from I guess if I'm not an agent, I'd call it a FSBO. So that's not being an agent. And the prices are kind of jumping around. One time they'll say, fixer upper 628. Next time it will be tall agent coworkers 698. So I'm not quite sure what can actually materialize in real time.
Okay, now again, all right, let's just assume that the house comes available on that side that you like and it meets your needs and it's affordable. Do you think that's possible, or is it impossible?
It's possible.
All right, finally, I might be making some progress. You see, you notice I'll keep drilling until I feel like I've got a foundation of concrete. I'm standing on concrete. Now, so if there were a way that basically you could see that house over there and buy it and come over here and the next day sell your house like that, would you do it?
Yes.
100% you would do it.
Yes.
So now let me ask you this. I don't know how to make that happen. However, I do know how to make this happen. There's a buyer out there that would like to buy your house, give you what you want, and they don't want to move into it for a while.
Oh, I like that. That's puts me out where I still don't have what I need though, correct? Or how exactly would that work?
Well, what if he just said, hey, I'll buy your house. Here's your price. Stay there as long as you need to till you find another house to move into. Pay me rent. Would that make sense?
That's sure. Can we close escrow? Or can you close escrow? Or
well, again, would you like that better?
Yes, of course.
So we close escrow, you've got your money, and you can move over to the other house.
Sure.
When you find it. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much.
Now I got the Brady Bunch here in front of me, Jeff. So we've done that before. My point is this. Here's my aha. That is the solution to every shadow seller out there that has what we call the homeless seller, is to have the conversation that we can do that for you. There's a buyer that will do that. And if they don't move, and that's why I want you guys to push back on me a little bit, what might a seller say at that point in time? Somebody, anyone, Jeff, you, anyone, what might they say at that point?
They might say it's a super competitive market and I'm not sure that I'll be able to get the house I want in my time frame.
And what is your time frame, Jeff?
Well, if we sell this house, I mean, I would like to, be able to do something, move within 60 to 90 days.
Right. So other than the time frame, is there anything else that would concern you?
No, just getting a house within my time frame.
And again, you define what the time frame is. What if the buyer doesn't even care? Stay there a year or just pay me rent. How would you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I guess if the market was going down, that could be okay. If the market's going up, I don't want to keep renting.
Well, you don't have to rent. You just have to wait. You don't have to. There's no lease. It's 1 week at a time. You find the right house, you move out and buy it.
Well, that sounds pretty good. Somebody
push back. See, the issue is rationally, If they bring up another objection at this point, what have you learned?
Well, that's where you might bring up, well, but it looks like these houses are so expensive. I'm not even sure I could afford what I really want.
Okay. Other than being concerned about affordability, is there anything else that concerns you?
No, affordability and getting, and being able to move within my time frame are my main concerns.
Well, let's just assume it's affordable. And we can go through numbers, you can talk to your lender, whatever you want to do. Let's just set that aside for now. Assuming it is affordable, is this a plan that will work for you?
Well, I do have some credit issues. Maybe I should talk to the lender first.
Okay, I get that. Assuming that's okay, and you feel comfortable moving ahead, is this a plan that will work for you?
Well, I need to run it by my wife, but yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Assuming she says okay, are you in for this plan?
I think at this point, yeah. I mean, if all those things work out, sure, let's do it.
Here's my point, you guys, and Jeff, you can open it up to discussion or maybe our comment in there. Here's my point. How committed are you at working with these sellers that just are saying, well, hey, I'm just concerned I have nowhere to go, and you're not pressing or digging or probing enough, and you're letting a potential seller get off the hook without doing your best to isolate? Because that will, what we just talked about, finding a buyer, I don't care what their time frame is, there is a buyer out there that will buy that house under that time frame. And I think I shared this last week. Sunny, I want us to think about how we can start maybe attracting sellers or even buyers. Buyers, how would you like to be shopping for a home with zero competition? And you think about how can a buyer differentiate themselves in this marketplace? Well, yeah, they can be cash, no contingencies, no appraisals. How about the buyer that says, listen, if your house meets my needs, I'll let you stay there. I'll let you rent it from me. I'll let you stay there rent free for up to 3 months, 6 months, you choose. Now, do you think that buyer is going to differentiate themselves? Yes. Now, let's say we had 5 or 10 of those potential buyers out there that want to get to the front of the line. There's a lot of buyers out there, guys, that are cash, don't have to worry about financing. They don't need it right away. Maybe they don't even want it right away. Now, what do you think we can do with 5 or 10 of those buyers? Hello, anybody home?
Place to live.
Better.
We can go talk to sellers and let them know we've got buyers waiting.
Right. Now we're going to go for sellers. Sellers, I'm not interested in a long-term listing agreement, just a one-timer or whatever. So how would you like to basically have your cake and eat it too? You've heard that before. We've got a stable, we've got a covey, we've got a handful of buyers that really want a home, don't want to move into it right away. Maybe one of these would make sense for you. Would you like to have that discussion? Do you see how we can maybe differentiate ourselves while we're differentiating the buyers and going after a segment of the shadow sellers? Because I think if there's a shadow seller out there that is worried about being homeless, and that is the underlying concern they really have, every one of those situations can be resolved. Stop right there. That was my thought of the day. What's your feedback? What's your thoughts? What you like, what you don't like? Let's talk about it.
All right, Denny, I can't see everybody, but let's hear from some people in the group that are.
How would you work with somebody that's ready to sell, but they aren't ready to move to their new place for 6 months? So they have to find a rental in between.
Okay.
It seems to be hard to find rentals as well. And they've got 2 big dogs too, so it's not like a simple apartment would do.
So why would they have to find a rental?
Because they want to move, they want to travel Europe for a year as soon as it's safe to do so. They just need somewhere to live until they can fly over and follow their dreams over in Europe.
Why don't they live where they're living?
They would love to live where they're living
Why can't they sell it and rent the house they're in?
for 6 months, you think?
Yeah.
I guess my concern is that would there be a buyer that would be willing to take an open-ended lease like that to where it could be 6 months, it could be 8 months, it could be 4 months?
Well, you guys put in the chat, yes or no. Do you think a buyer is out there? We'll take a little poll, Jeff. Is that all right? Put in the chat, yes or no. If you think a buyer exists that would, it's a little unconventional. However, you think it's possible. Put it in there if you can. Yes.
Make sure you, when you put in the chat, make sure you click on panelist and attendee so we can all see your responses.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. So far, nothing's coming in. So is that it?
So Denny, I think the biggest thing is if you have a buyer that's financing, the lenders obviously are only allowing 60 days of post occupancy. So you do have to work out kind of separate deals outside of the official contract.
Oh,
We're getting a lot of responses. So yes, yes, yes. Yes, many investors would. Lots of yeses, especially if they will pay rent.
okay. Now, and that was
Reagan.
Reagan. So you see how, I mean, the majority of people would say that, and I agree with them. There is a buyer out there that would do that. Now I know, and Jeff brings up a good point on the lender side or whatever. However, what I want you guys to do is ask the question how, not if. How could this happen? I think it would give you guys a significant leg up. Let's make sure our limited thinking or narrow thinking or traditional thinking is not keeping us from helping these people out, because I really think it's out there. And probably 40% of our transactions, maybe 40% of our transactions are cash. And out of that 40%, there's buyers that are still struggling to find something. I bet you, if any situation you have out there from a seller situation, a buyer is looking for that. And right now, if we can make it easier on a buyer, there's some people that are into easy. That's a great question though. Anything else on that?
Well, Denny, my aha from that is I'm always thinking as the buyer's agent, and I'm representing buyers that do have financing. However, when you're thinking as a listing agent, you're absolutely correct, because just about every listing that goes under contract had multiple offers, and one or two of them probably would have done anything to get the house and didn't have the lender concerns or anything else.
Right. Has anyone put a transaction like that together? Where you've helped someone, you found the buyer can let them stay there, whatever, sometimes rent-free, whatever. And listen, let's just assume right now, I see a potential challenge. Like somebody, seller's like, I'm not gonna pay rent on the house. I don't owe anything in this house, and I'm not gonna pay rent. Who wants to handle that? Anybody want to handle that objection? I'll be the seller. Well, I like the idea, but I'm not gonna rent my house back. They have to let me stay here free.
So Denny, if we could find a buyer that was willing to meet your terms and let you stay here for free, as long as you needed to, is there any other reason you wouldn't want to move forward?
Nope, if you can do that, I'm game.
Okay, fantastic. Let's get your house listed. Let's get it on the market. Let's get you ready to move, and we will have buyers that meet your needs. If you see an offer you like and they're willing to meet your needs, we can keep this moving right along.
Now, he handled that beautifully. He isolated, he closed, and here's my mantra. You've heard me say this before. In this market, don't walk away from any listing. If we can make that happen, are we good to go? Yep, if you make it happen, Jeff, I'm good to go. Now, there could be some conversations down the line or whatever if we're not getting, all right, so now it's been, all right, so Jeff, you're still my listing agent. It's been on the market 30 days. And your follow-up call to me is what? What do you want to know? All right, so we've had, we're listed in our median sales price here is 300, so we're listed at 550. And, you know, not that it's, you know, maybe a little high, who knows what. And we've had 5 showings in 4 weeks. What's your follow-up call like, Jeff?
Well, Denny, remember that conversation we had before we listed the house about the 3 outcomes?
Yes.
Well, right now we're in outcome number 1. We've had limited to no showings and no offers. You know, and as we discussed, after 30 days, if we were in that situation, we would probably want to change our strategy because the market has said no. Would you agree that that's what's happening?
Well, I mean, it's only been a month.
That's right. And for a month, the market has said this house is not going to sell at your current list price. So as we discussed, this would be the time for us to see if we can move towards outcome number 2 and ideally number 3.
And so for the folks on the call that don't know, and I have this outcome sheet for you, you go to Denny Grimes Mastermind Facebook page, and I have the 3 outcome sheet there. So what are the 3 outcomes, Jeff?
So outcome number 1 is limited or no showings, no offers. Outcome number 2 is we've had showings and we still don't have any offers, or we've had very low offers. And outcome number 3 is we've had offers and we're selling the house. Plenty of showings and offers and we're selling the house.
Yeah, outcome 3 is sold. So you guys should have that sheet. There are no more outcomes than that. He's 30 days into it now. So you're asking for a reposition. Well, maybe the right buyer hadn't come along yet, Jeff.
That is very possible, Denny. And what do you think is one of the best ways to get some new buyers to come look at your house?
Well, I think you should probably have a broker open and maybe, you know, wine and cheese at sunset.
You know, Denny, those are great things. And I love wine and cheese and I love talking to other real estate agents. At the end of the day, it's the buyers that we want to get out here that are interested in actually buying your house. And the best way to fill up that pipeline of new, fresh buyers is to maybe adjust the price point slightly so that we're getting a lot of new people that maybe have not even seen your house yet.
All right, so now you're having a pricing discussion. Now, there's one more avenue. I just want to see, before we go on into something else, somebody put a question in there that they want us to role play, which we'll do. There's one more avenue. How well were you listening to the scenario? I'm the seller, right? And I said, I'm not going to pay rent on my house. So logistically, when you take a listing that has a specific outcome, like seller needs to stay there X number of post-closing possession, blah, 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 you would probably put that in confidential comments so people showing the house would know. That'll prevent everyone from looking at it thinking they can move right in 30 days. So there's comments in the confidential comments about this seller needs to have post-closing possession, you know, for up to 6 months, rent-free. So what else can take place in the conversation? There low to no showings, or outcome number 1 is a pricing issue. Could the factor of up to 6 months with no rent be a factor?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that actually. Like, you could keep the price point that high if you take off him needing to rent or flip it. So if you want to rent, we could keep the price point lower. And then if you don't want to rent, we could keep the high price point.
Okay, so great observation, Keith. How would you have that conversation with me as a seller?
That I'm working on.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, somebody help him out. We got some smart people on here.
Well, Denny.
Hello. Agni, ready? Are you there? I think my real estate, thank you. Anybody want to help me out?
Denny, maybe a question of, you know, obviously, Denny, you want to move and you'd like to move. Let me ask you a question. Is staying here for an additional 5 to 6 months rent free, or getting a higher price point more important to you?
Well, I want to stay here. I mean, you know, I need the time. So that's an interesting question. And now you phrased that pretty interesting, right? He added, what did he add to it? He added a little bit of a pain thing. Well, tell me more, Jeff. What are you talking about?
Well, you know, obviously, how much you net on the home is important. However, is being able to stay in the home and have that extra time more important?
Yeah, well, yes, that's non-negotiable. I need the time in the home.
Okay, Denny, would you be open to discussing maybe a buyer that would be willing to give you a price point that you're happy with, and at the same time, maybe you pay them, you know, not the full rent, but maybe some sort of consideration for the time you're staying here?
I think there's a better question out there. You actually were on the path I thought you were going to go down, and so, and that's a fair point. I'm expecting you to up your game one more level, Jeff. You asked me the right question. So what's happening?
Denny, what number would make you move today without a messy post-occupancy lease and all that stuff? I mean, what number is it going to take to make you move?
I will not move today. Impossible. My new house
For any amount of money. There's no amount of money that'll make you move today.
I mean, 10 million. I mean, really though, Greg, no. I mean, when we originally started down this road of getting my house on the market, this was my new house. You know how new houses are, that said it'd be 3 or 4 months. I'm giving myself a couple extra. My wife's got all these antiques. We're not gonna move them twice. Non-negotiable.
So do you expect your buyer to pay your expenses, like your insurance and utilities and all that stuff, or how would you rather that get worked out?
No. I take care of my own utilities. I mean, I just not want to pay rent.
Okay.
You guys are getting close. You ever play that, like, cold, warmer?
Well, your great expectation, Denny, I don't have it. I got up at 4:30 this morning to take my sister-in-law to the airport, so I'm.
Oh, Jeff, you slept in. Okay, so how about this? I'm gonna go back to Greg. Greg, you there?
Yep.
When you say you don't want to pay rent, what do you think your house would rent for?
Am I the seller? I'm sorry.
And you're the seller.
Oh, okay. It'll rent for $2,000 a month, but you know what? Down the street there's an Airbnb and they get $250 a day.
Well, yeah, but that's like the turn and burn. So I understand. I mean, if you rent it by the hour, you probably get more, right? So would you say $2,000 a month?
Yep.
This is where I wanted you to go, Jeff. This is where I thought you were going. And you want to stay here up to 6 months, right?
Yeah. It's going to take me 6 months to find the right place. So.
All right, I got it now. I can see where you're going.
Yeah, now you got it, right? Well, all right, Jeff, hang on. Can anybody else finish the puzzle? Anybody? Who was that a second ago? That was, where'd you go? How can we move around? So that's $12,000, right, Greg?
Yep.
So let me ask you, because maybe what we're doing, we have made it, the buyer that would be willing to pay your price, let you stay there 6 months after closing and not collect rent. Can you see how maybe our buyer pool is getting pretty narrow?
Right. Gotcha.
And maybe what we're faced with is maybe we widen the aperture up a little bit by being willing to pay rent. And that's $12,000. Would that be better than a $20,000 price reduction? Is that where you were going, Jeff?
Yeah, the $12,000 part, yeah, calculating, but I wasn't sure where it was going to finish up, if it's, you know, what the actual end question would be.
Well,
So-
go ahead.
Yeah, so either way, so just exactly what you said, it could be, you know, you know, oh, that's only $12,000. Well, do you think if we lower the price, maybe that amount or around there, that would help?
Well, somehow we have to make the home more attractive, right? We either do that by repositioning from a pricing standpoint, or we open the aperture, which I kind of like that sound of that. We open the aperture to let more buyers in. So what would you rather do? If you basically were willing to pay rent versus take a hit on the price, you know, what would you rather do?
Well, I don't think we've had that many buyers. I'd like to do what's going to get more buyers in here. And ideally, you know, still get me as close to my price as possible.
Okay. All right, well, good. Any thoughts on that? We have somebody put in a question, and I don't see whether would you consider paying rent? Yeah.
Hey, Denny,
Yeah.
Says, would you con- oh,
it-
go ahead.
this is Don Aldrich. What would happen? Well, Denny, perhaps I'm just going to take a different twist on it. Perhaps there's a buyer out there that's willing to buy your house at your price, but they're really afraid of being a landlord for 6 months with no security deposit and no rental payment at all. Would you be open to maybe attracting that buyer in who's willing to pay you your price, but just needs a little bit of security, whether it's a monthly payment of some type and a security deposit? Would you be open to maybe exploring that option?
It'd be an awesome question. You know, that would be an awesome question. Sure. Now, again, monthly rent doesn't provide security. Upfront deposit would. However, yeah, anything you could do, ask a question like that to get the stubborn seller out of that. Because again, I think there's a buyer out there. Now, do I really think it's the rent issue? Nope. Because if he would lower the price to a certain point, would the rent or lack of rent issue be an issue? Nope.
No.
However, it gets him thinking, it gets the seller thinking on that. So I had somebody, Abby, are you still here, Abby? From Vero?
I am still here, Denny. Denny, I don't know if this is really related, but we had a situation where we had a seller and we had a buyer, and the seller actually needed to rent back from the buyer because the seller had nowhere to go. And it just so happened that we had a rental come up and they actually rented back from the buyer, and the buyer was so nice about it. She stayed there an additional month and then moved into the rental, and it worked out really, really nice. But that's how we negotiated that, because our seller didn't have anywhere to go and she was fearful of that.
Well, then I rest my case, because there's a lot of sellers, and I think it's a market that if you just develop the mindset with, we can solve that problem. And
Correct.
every one of them, and here's the beautiful thing. That's why I wanted you guys to push back on it. Let's say the seller wants this, and you know what? And if I don't get all those things, I'm not selling. Guess what? If you don't get all those things, what happens?
You lose the deal.
Well, there's no deal. They don't have to sell.
Right.
They have total control of taking an offer that makes sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, professional agents like we are, we're not going to be ramrodding, hammering them, chisel them down, blah, 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 blah. Hey,
Right.
well, you know what? When the right buyer comes along, it'll be awesome. I'm just encouraging you guys to go and start having conversations. Think about ways you can market for the buyers who don't need to be in in a house right away versus those sellers. I think it'd be a good opportunity. Now, didn't you put in a question about prospecting scripts?
Yes, so here's my situation.
Okay.
My husband and I live in a neighborhood about 300 and something homes. And we're focusing on farming this area. And there's a few other realtors who live in this community as well. So I was able to obtain most of everybody's, email, and I got their email, I got their phone number, and I have their names. So here's my fear. I have no idea. I want them actually to think about selling. My purpose of this call is for me to get a list. Well, to get a listing, but not, come in very forceful. So I have no clue what to say when they answer the phone other than, hi, my name is Abby Chang with Keller Williams Realty.
Well, you got the hello down, right?
Yeah, that's great. And I could get the goodbye down, but I don't have anything in the middle.
All right, so we're gonna change your mindset on that. Let me ask you a question, all right? This is just you, Abby. Can you see the picture behind me?
Oh, yes, it has lots of money and I love money.
Yeah, so that you find that wallet in your neighborhood where you're out walking and you look at it and you recognize the street name right around the corner. Somebody obviously probably put it on the car hood and drove off and dropped it. What would you say when you walked up and knocked on the door? All right, here it goes. Wait a minute. Oh, hello.
Hi, I'm your neighbor. My name is Abby Chang. I live over on the next block and I happened to be walking by and I found your wallet. And I know you need this and I would like to return it to you.
All right, so this is going to be a little bit fun in the chat. I know you guys stop just for a moment. Let's give Abby a little bit of love. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 not good, 10 meaning really good, just put in a number. How natural did that sound when talking to me, a perfect stranger, delivering the wallet? How, just 1 to 10, put it in there. Sonny, if you see something, what do you see? Abby, you do it. Well, Abby, you voted for yourself. 10.
8, 10, 10, 10,
I didn't vote for
9.
myself.
9, okay. Now, why do you think, now you didn't rehearse that, right?
No, not at all.
Why were you so good, yet you get lockjaw thinking about talking about real estate?
Fear of not having a really good script down. That's it. That was easy for me because, I'm giving something back to them and I know they're going to be very appreciative of it.
All right, who knows where I'm going? Don't make me do all the talking.
This is the same thing. You are helping the seller unleash or unlock the potential of selling their home, money in their pocket.
Yeah, that wallet, Aggie, thanks. That wallet represents the extra equity that seller could possibly make in this market that has just ramped up over the last 6 months. And this is how you do it. Hi, I'm Denny Grimes. I live right around the corner. And I just wanted to let you guys know that we sold a house down the street and that seller was able to sell it for $45,000 over asking price. Money. And I'm just asking around to ask the neighbors, who do you know that wants to sell and to make a lot of extra money in this white hot market that I could call?
Got it. I like who do you know? This way it's not really placing it on them.
All right, you guys, come on, let's give her 1 or 2 more. What do you guys use when you're knocking or calling on the phone? So you guys are doing lead gen. There's dozens of good things you could say. What would it be? You can type it if you want to, if you're like, don't want to talk.
Denny, it's done.
Yeah, John. Oh yeah, now there's a guy that knows scripts. This guy practices what he preaches. What do you use, Don?
Nah, too much pressure. So Denny, so we've already established we just sold the home around the corner, blah, blah, blah. And Denny, we had such tremendous interest in the property. I've got leftover buyers who are just wanting this neighborhood badly. Who do you know that maybe you've talked to that's talking about maybe making a move? Anybody that you know?
Okay, all right, so Don, well, I can't think of anybody right now, Don.
Nobody right now. Okay, I appreciate that. I'm curious. How about yourself? Have you given any thought to capitalizing on this market?
Well, I with COVID and all, we were thinking about maybe downsizing a little bit, but with COVID kind of put things on hold, and so we hadn't thought about it for a year.
Okay, and that's very natural and not to think about it. And again, there's lots of buyers out there, and there are homes available. So if you were to downsize, would you be staying in this area?
Oh yeah, we'd probably get a villa or something maintenance free.
Okay, so maybe a villa, something a little less maintenance. All right.
So
great.
from there, all right, so from there, do you see basically how the conversation can happen?
Yes,
Now, Abby,
yes. Yes,
Well-
thank you.
no, hang on.
Okay,
I'm not done. I'm not done yet. You're not totally healed yet.
I know.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good do you want to, on 1 to 10, how much would you like to dominate that neighborhood?
A 10, 11.
Okay, sure. That's easy. Therefore, will you be on the call next week?
Yes, I will.
And so here's my challenge to you. Get a script partner and role play partner. I want you to write out that script however it makes you feel comfortable.
Okay,
And house around the corner, just sold, and they sold for X. And, you know, we have got extra buyers that want to move in this area. I mean, so who do you know? Whatever it is, and then you're going to deliver that script. I don't care if you have to read it. You're going to deliver it as it sounds like you, just like you did the wallet one next week. Deal?
deal.
And if you don't do it, I'll question your sincerity about how serious you are. So, all right.
Thank
Hey,
you very
Denny.
much.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, real quick. So I role played my door knocking script with one of my good friends who someone door knocked on his house, and he had called me to discuss it with me, and we kind of discussed it. And you know, you and I were talking a little bit about that, and that term that you said, and I think you might have even said it in one of your videos for news or something, but you had said something to the effect of this is one of the greatest real estate markets in history. And we were talking about different ways to say white hot market versus, and he felt like that, like to me, you know, selling your house in one of the greatest, you know, opportunities in history was like a great opener, you know, just to have, you know, hey, we have quite a few buyers. Really would just like to know, do you know any of them that might be interested in selling their home in this greatest seller's market of all time?
The GOAT. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for
and
sharing that.
you know, so that's a pretty good opener because you ask them if they know anybody, and you use terms like that to get them thinking, well, how great is it, you know?
Well, now we can have people's choice. I've got a couple things here. Does anybody have a request for my role play? I'll give you a couple of minutes. Sonny, kind of watch and see if somebody types something in, or if you want to ask or have a situation or want to role play, just unmic yourself. There's just a handful of stuff in here. We can do that. I'll give you a minute to decide. And if not, Jeff, I'll give people a choice. I've got a couple here. I came up with a article that has the 7 common objections in a real estate transaction. Rather contemporary. It's not a very old article. I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder what this person thinks the top 7 objections are. So is there a request from the crowd that's come in, Sonny?
I have a question, Danny.
Yeah.
While door knocking, one of the owners said, if you have a buyer, we were door knocking saying that like there is so many buyers out there who wants to move in this neighborhood. And he said he has no plan to retain any agent, but if we bring him a buyer, he's willing to sell it off market.
Oh, okay.
And I am like, we said yes, since I remember what you said, never ever walk away from. So we went ahead and then did a market analysis, and then we asked him a price point that he and his wife has. And the price point he gave us is $100,000 off, less than the market analysis in that neighborhood. So I know in depths of my soul that he can retain us as a an agent, we still can bring him money. Now, how can we guide that conversation to convince him? If he hire us, he actually will get more money.
So you're asking, he wants $100,000 more than your market analysis, right?
No, the price he gave us, he wants to sell is $100,000 less than the market analysis of the neighborhood.
Oh, he wants less.
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. You buy it.
I wish I can.
So what's the price point?
1.2.
All right. Anybody on here would like to take that? Well, we'll limit it to a 3-minute role play. 3 minutes. What questions would you lead with on that? It's an interesting scenario. It really is.
Yes.
So I'll be the seller. Who wants to be the agent?
Anyone in the $1 million price point on a regular basis?
Don't be shy. That is crazy. All right, Don, going to you. You still there?
Okay, I wanted to give people a chance.
I know. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. All right, so.
All right.
So what do you think my home will bring us? I was hoping to get like $1 million.
So you're hoping to get $1 million. So you get $1 million, you're ready to go. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. In what is the greatest seller's market in history, what happens if somebody comes in and wants to offer you 50,000, 75,000, maybe 1.1? Would you still take it?
What would he say? Your name is not on there, so I don't know. What would he say? 583-238353.
That's Musina.
Who is it?
Musina.
What would he say? You're still muted. Well,
his main thing is he is adamant not to have an agent. He said he is now willing to pay for a real estate agent, period.
all right. Well, you stay, Messina, you stay there because you know the situation. So go ahead, Don. The question was, what if if the buyer was willing to pay you more, $50,000 or $100,000 more, what would you do with that money?
Are you asking me, Denny?
No, Messina.
Oh, he's retiring and downsizing.
Okay, no, hang on. This could be a role play. I don't want to know him. So,
Okay.
well, I'd take it, Don. Sure, it'd be awesome. I'm just not going to pay an agent.
I understand. So at $1 million, you don't want to pay an agent, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I understand that. And obviously you can sell the home yourself. There's no question about it. What would happen, Lucina, if we were able to get you more money and basically go to work for you for free and take all the work off your shoulders and still net you well over $1 million? Would you be interested in that?
I think we can consider it.
Okay, so you would consider me coming to work for you for free, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. How about if I paid you to come to work for you and you still got your $1 million? Would you be interested in that?
Yes. How would you do that?
Well, that's exactly why I'm calling, because this market is working so much in your favor. People like you can afford to hire people like me. We can do our job, take all the work off your shoulders, bring you multiple buyers, and still put well over $1 million in your pocket, which is ultimately your goal, is to walk out of there with $1 million, right?
Yes.
So I don't mind doing this. It would just take maybe 15 minutes to explore it. Would you like to get together today at 4, or would 5 o'clock be better? No obligation.
No, definitely. Let's talk at 4.
All right, so nicely done, right to the point. Certainly 3 minutes or less. Did that sound impossible or challenging, Messina?
No, it's not. That was my plan when I see him this Thursday, but uh, it's confirmed that like I can say I can work for you free, and then that $100,000 over can pay both the buyer and the listing agent, I guess. And then even he'll have more.
Well, Don will co-list it with you, so there you go. He'll help you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We got time for one more, Jeff. Do we have any requests from the crowd? Got time for one more.
Anyone?
Hey, Denny, can you paraphrase your report in a summary?
Which one?
The 7 objections, I believe.
The 7, you talking about the 7 shadow sellers?
No, you mentioned you had something else a moment ago before we started.
Help me.
Oh, you mentioned you had a few different objections that you were thinking about.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. All right, I'll give you a choice here. Put in the number. Here's 5. Put in the number you want. Number 1, I'm afraid to start the home buying process. Number 2, it's a bad time to buy. Number 3, the home I want is too expensive. And 5, I'll just do this. Number 4, another agent will list the home for more. So number 1, I'm afraid to start the home buying process. 2 is very similar. It's a bad time to buy. 3, the home I want is too expensive. 4, another agent will list the home for more money. So what's the numbers coming in, guys? 3, 2, 4. What do you sense there, Sonny?
4, 2, 4, 4, 1, 2.
We just got another 2.
2.
All right, let's do number 2. It's a bad time to buy. Who wants to be my buyer? We can really get into the role. This is easy, guys. Come on. You couldn't talk.
All right, I'll do it.
Don, is that you again?
Yeah.
Do I have to pay you for this? All right, Don, you're the buyer.
Okay.
And you say what? It's a bad time to buy.
Yeah, it's just a really bad time to buy, man. I think I better wait.
Oh, I understand. Well, other than it's a bad time to buy, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to take advantage of a great market?
No, I don't think so.
So if you thought it was a good time to buy, you would step in and buy?
Yeah, I guess you got me on that one. Sure, if it's a good time, but right now with no inventory and high prices and these crazy bidding wars and people doing all kinds of things to buy, I'm not going to get in that game. I don't need to.
When you say you don't need to, are you saying you're not really motivated to buy?
Well, I guess I wouldn't be talking to you if I wasn't motivated. I'd like to buy. I guess I just don't think the right house is out there, and if I pay for it, it's going to be through my nose right now. Don't you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, why are you going through this process anyway? What do you do? Are you own or rent right now?
No, we own right now.
Okay, so why are you thinking about buying if you think it's such a bad time? Now, I'm going to stop a minute. Is anybody whacked out with the questions I'm asking? Because this is not normally taught. I'm actually sounding like I'm trying to talk him out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm paralleling him. I'm making him start to defend it. So why don't you just stay where you are?
Well, we're actually getting tired of being in a 2-story.
Now he's going to start telling why he wants to move, right?
Right.
Isn't it better than telling him all kinds of crap? So you need more space, right? What else?
Well, we're just, I guess the doubt is we got a 22-year-old and 18-year-old and not sure if they're going to boomerang back to us. So we're a little worried about we go buy something and in a downsize mode, and then both of them, either end up staying or coming back.
So you mentioned the several things that were working against you. What's working in your favor right now in this market?
Well, interest rates are awesome.
Yeah.
That's in my favor.
What else?
Huh. Well, I guess looking at it, looks like we would, whatever we end up buying, it's going to be more expensive to buy down the road.
Ah, you know what we call that?
No.
The equity elevator.
What do you mean?
Well, see, right now the sellers are enjoying the equity elevator going up. However, as soon as you lock in a home that you're going to own, you're going to be on the equity elevator riding it up. Now, would it have been great buying a year ago?
Heck yeah.
How about 6 months ago?
Yeah.
You think it was scary and competitive back then?
Probably for those buyers, but maybe not as much as what we have now.
Well, do you think they're glad they made the move, even though it might have been a little scary?
Yeah, I see where you're going. So I basically wake up, and every day I wake up, roll over, look at my wife and say, honey, guess what? We made money last night because our house is worth more. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, if the next 6 months were like the last 6 months, how would you feel if that were true?
Yeah, I guess we'd feel pretty good.
So let me ask you, to start building equity at a pace that probably we've never seen before, is it worth a little bit of angst and maybe inconvenience and a little competition?
Sure. I mean, the stock market has angst and competition too. And I guess this is a lot more concrete because we're actually in it. Yeah.
Compare the angst of the temporary angst and maybe a little stress you feel when you're going through the purchase process. Compare that with the angst of not making a decision for 6 or 12 months and watching the market go up, which you live every day. Which one is worth it?
Yeah, a little temporary pain's better than long term, that's for sure.
So, I mean, that's 4 minutes right there. There's a lot of ways you could have taken that. Don, I mean, you were being nice.
Another one that I added, Denny, in that same conversation with my buyer was, because she is renting and it works if you're a renter, do you expect that your rent will go up next year? And then they say yes, and it's like they're talking about their budget, and it's like at these current low interest rates, extremely low, historically low interest rates, you can lock in a payment today that's not going to go up every year. So as your house continues to rise in value, your payment will not. And then you can actually do the math and show them what waiting another year or 2 years looks like.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're locking in a permanent payment.
That's right.
So you guys, give me 2 or 3 ahas for me and Jeff. What did you learn today? What was worthwhile? And who's going to tell someone and basically about our class next week so we can build our audience, help more people understand powerful scripts. So share a couple ahas either in the chat or out loud. Mark, I didn't see it just now. Good to see you, Mark.
I have one. It's Abby. I want to thank you very much for the script in prospecting. It really motivated me, and I liked how you dealt with the renting of the buyer and the seller, and the seller having nowhere to go. That was very concrete. So thank you. And I will invite a couple of friends for next week.
Awesome. And we'll have you do your little script next week too.
Okay.
Who else?
I had an aha, Denny.
Yeah.
Yes, how you said to not build on straw or sand, and just keep asking them questions until you get that solid. Lately, a lot of sellers have been just giving you 1 or 2 excuses, and sometimes agents would just walk away from that. So it was good to just hear you say, no, keep digging until you get some concrete.
Yeah, that's awesome. It makes sense. I mean, a lot of times we're unsure of what to say because we're unsure of what they mean. So I am learning to get clarity over it, right? One more. Well, Jeff, any closing comments?
Denny, I think you did a fantastic job today, and thank you for having us. I appreciate all your time and energy, and the homeless seller is definitely an objection that people are seeing right now, and appreciate some different ways to ask questions and some insight into working with that.
Right. Well, I appreciate your help, Jeff, as a co-host, and Sonny running the scene, running everything behind the scenes. You guys invite someone next week, and I'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. Be careful out there.
All right.
Thanks, Denny.
Thank you.
Thanks, Denny.
Bye.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Denny. Have a great